Jonathan Ray Bickel was born on December 1st, 1922. He grew up on a farm near Mount Etna, Pennsylvania. He lived a normal life until he was around the age of 6.
I guess it was normal up until the time when I was 6 years old. My mother died, then it wasn't so normal anymore. My father got a new wife and she did not like her first wife's kids.
After Mr. Bickel enlisted, he was called upon on February the 26th. He traveled to Harrisburg and got on a train headed to Miami Beach. At Miami Beach, he went through physical training and Bickel learned how to take orders. Advanced training took place in multiple areas for Bickel. Because of the large amount of people in the cadet training class, Bickel went to Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois. As aviation cadet candidates, Bickel and other enlisted men went to Lackland Air Force Base in Texas for classification. After classification, Bickel headed to Tulsa, Oklahoma. In Tulsa, Bickel went to the Spartan School of Aeronautics as a pilot. Bickel was transferred shortly after because he could not see the depth perception and he dropped the planes too high. So he was sent to the navigation school in San Marcos, Texas to become a navigator. During advanced training, he went to West Overfield. That's where he did practice missions and met his crew members. The crew worked well with each other. Bickel's first mission was at St. Lo on July 25, 1944. They were supporting men on the beach who were fighting Germans that were stationed on top of a cliff. The men were in a trap and needed backup. The mission was deadly just like other missions. Mr. Bickel completed a total of 35 missions. Some of his most challenging missions were fighting over Berlin and the Ruhr Valley. His plane avoided being hit and shot down during several missions. During some of his other missions, he had to transport gasoline to fuel Patton's advance. They started to put 5-gallon cans of gasoline onto the planes and sent them to Castres, France. During the missions ferrying gasoline, his bomber flew at a low altitude.
Well, we had General Patton and moved so fast after the breakthrough at St. Lo that we couldn't get gasoline to him, and they started putting 5-gallon cans on the bombers instead of bombs.
In August, Mr. Bickel flew 12 missions on the first 14 days, which earned him a few days off before he flew another mission. During his days off, he and a bombardier went to Scotland, specifically Loch Lomond and Edinburgh. He also had extra time to go to London, England before he had to return. Throughout his service and days off, Mr. Bickel wrote letters back home. He wrote mostly back and forth with his sisters. As a navigator, Mr. Bickel's main targets were ammunition dumps, bridges over canals, railroads, and marshalling yards. Space was very limited in the nose of the plane because Mr. Bickel, the nose gunner, and the bombardier were all crammed in. The bombardier had the bomb north in sight and often got in his way, so Mr. Bickel and his crew found a new tactic. When the lead crew opened the bomb bay doors, his plane opened theirs. During missions, Mr. Bickel witnessed a plane go down that he distinctly remembers. On the plane that went down, there was a 19-year-old boy. It was only the boy's 5th mission, and Mr. Bickel saw the plane go down but not crash. He later found out that his high school principal, Mr. Croms, survived a crash landing. Mr. Bickel's own pilot, Glenn D. Young, was very cautious. If one of their engines was going out, Young directed them back home. If their plane ever had any serious mechanical problems, they turned around and went home. Mr. Bickel came home on November 27, 1944, before World War II ended. When he got home, he went to Penn State University to get his bachelor's degree. After finishing at Penn State, he proceeded to teach at Northern Lebanon for 27 years. After 27 years, Mr. Bickel retired and now continues to live in Mount Etna, Pennsylvania. We would like to thank Mr. Bickel for his service during World War II.